Welcome back to the Slide Cow Toolkit. My name is Yo-Yo, and I'm here to make your Slide Cow Toolkit slides amusing. Alright guys, let's discuss front covers. So front covers are essentially the first slide that your audience is going to see. It doesn't matter if it's being projected on a screen, it doesn't matter if you print out those slides and hand them to somebody, it doesn't matter if you're hosting a webinar with a presentation. This will be, or front covers will be, the first ever slide that your audience is going to see. So it's very important that you set the tone right from the beginning and ensure your front covers actually look good and actually have that stylish impact on your audience. It sort of gives them a sense of what's to come, you know what I mean? So let's start with this slide over here. I actually love this slide because it's very minimalist in design and it gets straight to the point. I recommend using this front cover for business type presentations, right? Because there's nothing fancy going on and it's very to the point. So let's analyze what we have over here. We have a picture on the left side here. If I was to delete this picture, you can see a box, which I'll come to in just a second. You have a little shape over here, which acts as a separator. You have a text box over here, which is essentially for the heading or the title. You have another text box over here, which is essentially for a subheading. And you also have one more text box to put in any other information, such as the name or date or whatever. So let's get into this. So let's talk about this box over here. This is the creme de la creme of this slide, as well as many other front cover slides that you're going to see in this video. I love this box because it seriously sorts out your images in absolutely no time. You know, it's just literally a matter of either clicking on this icon and then double clicking a picture and boom, there you go. Or you can actually drag and drop a picture. Now, I would recommend drag and drop because you have more control of what you want to do. So for example, if I want to bring in this Slide Cow logo over here and bring it over here, it's as simple as that. So don't panic if you see something like this. If your image or your logo is cropped, seriously, don't panic. There are two things that you can do to fix that. You can either click on the image, go to format, and then go to crop, right? And you can reduce the image size by holding shift and reducing the image size and then placing it in the middle of the box. This is something I don't recommend because of alignment issues. What I do recommend though is actually just increasing the height or the width of the image with the crop button. So for example, if I want to move this black bar over here and move this black bar over here, right, I expose the entire logo and then I can just reduce the image size just like this, bring it up here and done. And I can just play around with that any way that I'd like. All right, perfect. So I just described all the components on the slide. Let's now talk about making an example. I'm going to be putting in a long title such as company strategy for 2018. And I don't want to have a name in my example, right? I think that, you know, a name is redundant. I don't think it's important for me to have a name on my front cover. And I also want to change the subtitle to something along the lines of introducing 3 new products in the company lineup. All right. So what you see over here is, you know, text jumping over text, and it gets really annoying and it's an eyesore and you're trying to wonder why you have something like this. So don't worry guys, there are actually 2 fixes. The first fix is actually to just highlight all the text boxes and just reduce the font size to anything that you'd like, something like this. That works, right? The second thing for you to do is actually just to increase the width of your text boxes, right? Something like that, until you can just bring it in from the other side, like this. Now, obviously, if you see that this is taking up too much of your slide's text, then you're gonna have to actually reduce the size of the text just a bit. So let me do that. It's now at 48, and this is now gonna be around 28. So I'm gonna bring that in over here, and I'm gonna bring that in over here. Let's just make sure it's all aligned. All right, perfect. There we go. If you don't like the white spacing between the lines for your title, that's very easy. And by the white space, I just mean the padding, you know, between the introducing and the company, that little space. It's very easy for you to fix. Just click on this box and go to this option right here, which is line spacing options, and click on the actual line spacing options button. Under multiple, make sure that you have multiple here in the spacing segment, right? Under multiple, you want to change that to around 0.8. Depending on the font that you choose for this, you do have to be very careful in choosing your numbers or digits to define your spacing. So, for example, 0.8 works on Pantone black caps, but if you were to change the font itself to around Arial or whatever, that would also work. But you know, other fonts like Gotham, you can see that, you know, it's sort of lining up in the middle there. So you just want to make sure that you have everything, you know, sorted out and ready to go from the beginning. So that's all good and dandy. Let's just group those up and just bring it down the middle just like this, and make sure that everything is perfectly aligned by highlighting everything and going to home, arrange, distribute horizontally, and home, arrange, let's say distribute middle. There you go, perfect. One tip that I want to give to you, right? One tip I want to give to you that I will also repeat in other videos, but I just want to be sure that you get it here. If you were to delete this picture, right, you would still be left with the box over here, right? You still be left with the box over here, so you need to resize it in a way that that accommodates your needs, right? So just be wary of where you space your text boxes and whatever after you delete that image, right? Another thing is you can't group up everything because this box that we had over here doesn't allow us to, right? But there's a way around that. What you can do is you can press on Control X, right? You can move this box up out of the slide and press on Control V, and you can just group it up and you're good to go. There we go. You can actually move that in the middle, I think. Let's try that. Yep, that looks great. Alrighty, there's our first front cover. Alrighty, so now that we're done with that, let's move on to the next slide. So I love this slide because it's a contrast focused slide. It's very strategically made. Let me explain. First of all, when you use contrast, you're trying to show importance, right? So pay attention to this, because if you have an important presentation or important deck or important whatever to make, you might want to play with elements of contrast in order to trick your audience into focusing on key aspects of your slide. So the key aspects of this slide are these three things over here, which are the icons, right? And the icons are supposed to relate to your text. That's very, very, very important. So let me elaborate on this just so we're all clear. This is the title and this is the name, and these are the three icons that correlate to the title and the name itself, right? So if, for example, I was to look at this slide as an audience member, I'd say that this slide over here, right, this slide is showing me as an audience member, John Doe has a presentation called Lorem Ipsum, whereby he will be discussing valuable goods and services with financial performance and marketing elements. Do you see what I mean? It's very strategically placed for you to make the best use of it, right? So it wasn't just, grabbed from thin air and just plotted on a slide. You have to make best use of the various, design elements and the design tricks that you have at your disposal. So let's talk about the components of the slide. First things first, if you want to change the background color, it's not a shape. So you might have to right-click on the slide itself, go to Format Background, and just click on the various elements over here, such as, whatever color that you want, really. I don't know what I meant by saying various elements. Anyway, whatever color that you want. So that's very easy to do. Second of all, if you were to copy and paste this slide, right, this slide in particular, to another PowerPoint deck or another PowerPoint presentation or whatever, and you were to go over here and press copy and then Control V, this is what you're going to end up with, just white. All right, just white. If, on the other hand, you were to copy this slide and right-click and then click on this button, which is Keep Source Formatting, and that's very, very important for you to understand. I will even make its own video. I'm just bringing it up here just in case. But if you click on this, you will keep the exact same formatting techniques of that slide, right? So it won't have to mix up with the themes of your own slide. So this has its own advantages and disadvantages that I'll relate to in another video. But for right now, let's just discuss this. So I already discussed the components of the background as well as a copy paste. We have the three icons that we discussed, right? These are very strategically placed in order for us to discuss this. And they're embodied by, let's just say embodied, because I think that's a literal term. They're embodied by three circles over here. So we have one circle, two circle, and three circles, right? We have two text boxes, which is one with the name and one with the name over here and with the title over here. And we also have two lines, all right, in order for us to sort of center our attention to the center of the slide. those are the elements. Now let's play around with it. Let's change the name of this to company strategy. And let's just also say that, you know, I'm going to move this to the right a bit. Actually, it's a bit too much. Oops. Yeah, just the text box. Just the text box. There we go. And I'm going to delete the name because I don't see a name. I don't see the need for a name, for example. I noticed that there's a lot of padding between company and strategy, so I want to limit that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to home. I'm going to click on the line spacing and line spacing options over here, and click on line spacing options over here. Change the multiple to around 0.8, right? And there we go. So you have to be very careful with customized fonts like Pantone Black Caps and so on and so forth, because of the padding just underneath over here. This is something that you can't replace because we already set it to 0.8, and that's how it's going to be notified, right? There's going to be some padding at the bottom of your words depending on the font that you choose. If I was to, for example, change this to Arial, which is a Windows font, I won't have that issue. But because Pantone Black Caps is a customized font, some of the fonts that you bring into the table might have issues, right? So anyway, I'm going to increase the size of this to around, let's say 66. I'm also going to bring that into the middle here, just to play around with it just a bit more. And actually, let's play with this just a bit more, right? Let's just say I want to bring in these icons over here, but I want to make them smaller somewhat, like this. And I want to center this over here. And I want to bring it into the middle. And I want to bring in these three icons over here. Let's just say I want to bring that at the top. Bring this here, here, just like that. And let's bring that down just a bit. And we'll move this line back down. We'll highlight everything. Go to Arrange, Align, and Distribute vertically. Again, you might have to play just a bit more with the lines because of the padding, but that's perfectly fine. All right, that looks great. Move that up again. Group everything and just bring it down into the middle. That looks nice. I like that a lot. Another alternative that you can do is you can just press Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup it, bring this up, and bring this down over here, and bring this down over here. And maybe if you want, you can reduce the line sizes. This. Boom. That looks great. All right, moving on. We have a front cover where half the slide, you know, is taken over by a picture. These are very, very effective, right? Because the picture tells the story. That's very, very, very important for you to understand. I once worked in a Big Four consulting firm. I can't tell you which firm, but I will tell you that we did use pictures, right, that describes what we're going to be discussing at the front cover and only the front cover. So it tells you a lot when you're using a picture at only the front cover, right? So over here, for example, we have a picture of a skyline. If you want to change it up, just, you know, you're going to have something that looks like this, and you're going to have something that looks like this as well. You're going to have two boxes that looks just like this, right? If I want to bring in, for example, let's just go to, not these, where are we? We're in videos. So if I want to bring in the skyline over here, I could just drag and drop. Easy, easy peasy. And if I wanted to move where I wanted to see more or less of the skyline, I'll just click on crop and just move that around left or right. Very easy for me to do. Just make sure you hold shift when you do that, so it's very, you know, so you don't have to worry about, you know, any slight movements of the mouse. So left, right, very easy for you to do. And if I also wanted to put in a company logo over here, that's also very easy for me to do. I can just go to crop and bring it up, bring it down, and just, you know, decrease the size just like that and put it in wherever I want. And if I want to change the logo, I can just simply just delete that and just do it all over again. So if I wanted to also focus on the different components here, there are also two text boxes that you have to be aware of. Again, you've seen the text boxes and what they can do for this slide and this slide, so it's really not magical. They're just text boxes, but just keep in mind that you can change these however you'd like. So I use the center alignment tool, sorry, the left alignment tool for this. You can always change it to center if you want to focus on the right side of the slide, but make it strictly text and focus on center, like I'm about to show you right now. So if you want to do this, and then if you want to do this, that works perfectly fine. It's not a big deal at all. Maybe you want to put the logo in the middle of your text at the bottom. That works fine. And if you have a lot of text for your heading, for example, if I want to put something like taxing strategy for Slide Cow Inc., right? And I have all this to make use of. That's very easy for you to play around with. So let's just ungroup everything, highlight everything. Let's set it at 70. Let's make it bigger than usual, but we'll also play around with the line spacing. So again, you just go to home, you go to this button over here, which is essentially the line spacing button, and you click on line spacing options, and you want to change this to around 0.8. So boom. All right, cool. And I'm going to bring that up, and I'm also going to bring the John Doe at the bottom here. I don't need to put a logo here, for example. If I was to highlight everything, bring it down in the middle. There we go. Perfect. Very, very, very easy for you to do. The next slide is exactly the same as this slide, except it's shifted to the left. And I only did that just to show you guys, in case you wanted to sort of see a spectrum of different results, right? Let's go on to the next slide over here, and let's discuss what it is. All right, so I played around with this a lot, and this has to be one of my favorite premium front covers, right? Why do I say it's a premium front cover? It's because I see it as a design cover, right? It's normally used in presentations with a wow factor, right? It's not necessarily meant for business presentations. That doesn't mean that you don't have to use it for business presentations, but it's not necessarily for business presentations, right? So you're going to have something that looks like this. As always, it's very easy for you to just literally just drag and drop any image that you want into this, and you can play around with it however that you would like. So if I was to, focus on, let's say something like this, that would work as well. And what I like about this slide here is because of this text component over here that I added. Now, this text component over here, right, it just basically acts as a summary or an abstract or whatever. It gives some depth, right, into what you're going to be talking about, some elaborated depth, right? It's not a subheading where you're saying as in where you're trying to expand on your title, but rather it's more of a paragraph where you're trying to discuss or give insight into what you're going to be talking about in the presentation or in your PowerPoint deck or whatever. So I'm not going to write out an abstract for you, obviously, but let's say that if I wanted to, place that just over here, and I wanted to remove the name, and I wanted to make the size of this increase a bit, and just say strategy, for example, bring that in here, right? And I also wanted to add just one more wow factor to this. I really want to make this shine, right? I really do want to make this shine. So how can I do that? Let's add a line just underneath strategy. So let's go to insert shapes and click on this line over here and just drag one out like this. And let's increase the width of this line, or sorry, the weight of this line by going to format, shape outline, weight, clicking on, let's say 4.5 points would be good. So I like this a lot. And let's also decrease the font size of this just by a bit and bring that up here. That way what we can do is we can actually increase the line spacing of this just like that, which would help the audience, make it easier to read. Maybe if you want to make it just a little bit less, let's go to multiple and change this to 1.25. There we go. That's nice. It's very, very, very nice. And what we can do now is you can just drag it over here and it's good to go. All right. So that is that slide covered. All right, so to finish off with this segment, let's talk about the final front cover slide, which is this one over here. I actually like this slide a lot because it gives a sort of pattern sequence for your image. It's really effective to sort of center the audience's focus to wherever you want it to go. So right off the bat, I have to tell you that this right here is an overlay effect, which you can delete, and you can also change the colors too, right? So I can change it to green, I can change it to pink, or whatever you would like. A lot of people use overlay effects for various reasons. The main reason is that people use overlay effects so that they can also put text in the front of the image. It's actually really effective when you do that. I know for a fact you've been on websites that showed this, right? And if you stand back and actually ask why they did this, it's because you can actually perceive and interpret two messages at once. One message is from the text, obviously, that they're trying to give you, and the other message from the picture in the background, and often they correlate to one another. A lot of the other times though, people just do it because it looks good. So let's talk about the components on the slide. This is what you see in the Slide Cow Toolkit. You have a place for your images, you have, your overlay effect, and you have two text boxes, one with your title and one for your name or the date or whatever. So it's just a simple matter of dragging and dropping an image just like this, and then right clicking it and then clicking on sending to back if you'd like the overlay effect. And again, you could just change the color of that overlay effect. Let's just say I want it to be blue, or I want it to match the color of our image over here. That's actually very easy for us to do as well. Just click on the overlay effect itself, go to format, go to shape fill, and then click on eyedropper, and then just click on anywhere on the image that you'd like, right? Automatically you can see there's no transparency there, but that's very easy to fix as well. Just go to format, shape fill, more fill colors, and just change the transparency to around, you want to aim for around 10 to 30%, because if you go too transparent, this is what you end up with, right? You can see it, but it's not that as effective. So you want to aim for around 10 to 30%. So let's just go for 20, and yep, there we go. So you can see automatically that maybe you want to change the shade of this to be a bit darker so that it fits with the overall theme, and maybe you want to lighten up the transparency to around 30 instead of 20. There you go. See? So it all matches pretty dandily. So let's go into example mode. Let's say that I don't like this overlay effect. I think it's too thick. So I'm going to fix that in a bit. And I'm going to put in the title, which is Pursuit of Happiness. And I'm going to increase the text box size for that. And I'm going to type in the name, which is Yo-Yo from Slide Cow. So as I said before, I didn't exactly like the overlay effect, so maybe I wanted to change it up. That's perfectly fine. All I have to do is just duplicate the slide, and immediately you have to understand that slide number 9 is going to be our purpose slide. This is the slide that's going to go into our PowerPoint deck. Slide number 10 is going to be our experimental slide. This is the slide we're going to use to edit in order to get our overlay effect. So being the experimental slide, we can delete the text boxes over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting an overlay effect for this image. So I'm going to focus on getting an overlay effect in a horizontal fashion, a very small but sleek sort of rectangle going across here, and yeah, basically what's going to happen is it's just going to just be very, very thin, but cover up some of the image to show that there is indeed an overlay effect in case we want to put text in the middle. So let's go to insert shapes, click on the rectangle or any other shape that you want to use for your overlay effect. It's completely up to you. And what we're going to do is we're just going to draw one out in the middle just like this. Make sure it's lined right. Maybe just increase the size just a tad, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on this shape first, then the image, then go to format, then go to merge shapes, and then click on intersect. So just before I do that again, it's important for you to understand that this image cannot be moved, right? Because that's where the image is placed in your purpose slide. You want to make sure that the purpose slide's image is consistent with the experimental slide's image in terms of positioning to make this a lot easier. So when you're happy with this, like I showed you before, and I'll do it again, just click on the shape, then click on the picture, then click on format, then click on merge shapes, and then click on intersect. So once you have this shape, that's all you need from this slide. Just copy it, go here, and paste it. And I'm gonna go to format and make this a dark gray, or actually let's change it up a bit. Let's make this a dark purple, and let's remove the outline, and let's also change the fill colors to around 30%. And I think what I'm also going to do, just in case I want to have added effect, I can just put this at the front. Oops, there we go. Put this at the front over here, and change that to, I don't know, like Slide Cow or whatever you want to put, and just change the font color to around white. There we go. Perfect. So that concludes our little guide on front covers. I will see you in the next segment of the video, which discusses text-heavy slides. I'll see you there.